You know what, my dudes? We've been really deprived over the past year and a half of just regular old normal competitions. Now, for the most part, things have just kind of eased back in after the disruption that was 2020. We were without fans in the stands for a vast majority of, well, NBA games, NFL games for a while, and now the 2021 seasons are pretty much upon us. For most of the major remaining sporting events, fans are returning back to the stands, unless, of course, we're going to have to talk about the Tokyo Olympics, which, hey, they're not going to have fans, but that's kind of a retarded story, which we'll circle back to in a moment, mostly because, yes, we have other events that were canceled over the 2020, the pandemic, sorry, my mistake, of course, things that we were deprived of, like things that are central to Americana and the appreciation of the great values of America. I think you know where I'm going with this if you've perused the net for a little while. But yes, of course, the Miss America pageant, it was canceled in 2020, and unfortunately we were deprived of all of those great sound clips like Miss North Carolina answering a question as to why a lot of public school kids cannot point to Iraq on a map because things like such as and the Iraq and like deprived of such brilliant insights from her, and then also from Miss Utah with similar gaps in their intellect, but what they lack in sheer intelligence they can make up for with filling out a swimsuit or filling out an evening gown like this young lass has done here, because she's going to be representing the great state of Nevada, the silver state, in fact, in the upcoming Miss USA pageant. Now, isn't that a nice, wonderful young lady right there? Of course, yes, Miss Kataluna Enriquez, of course, yes, beat out 21 other women in order to claim the title of Miss Nevada. Don't mind the fact that those shoulders look like she should be playing cornerback for the Las Vegas Raiders. And also mind the Adam's apple. Hey, wait a minute, I think we've been duped here. Oh my god. 2021 Miss Nevada will be the first openly transgender Miss USA contestant. Yeah, who gives a shit? All of this fucking crap's an entire joke at this point. Like, we, a couple weeks ago, lost out on the Victoria's Secret Angels and now the Miss America pageant, who I don't even think they do the fucking swimsuit category anymore. So this dude right here is not gonna have to worry about fucking one of his balls popping out of his swimsuit. So who knows? I don't even know if she got the bottom surgery, but you know what? I'll call it a girl, because obviously she's putting forth the fucking effort to present that way, and she went through all the problems. And hey, I'm not some fake and phony like Ben Shapiro, and I'm gonna keep up that fucking act until I slip up, because yeah, it looks like a girl, okay? And it's not the first time, because you guys remember that weightlifter down there in New Zealand. This isn't the first time we're celebrating a bunch of women getting beat by one man. So that should just them be the breaks going forward. Wearing a rainbow sequin gown she designed herself. Of course she'd have to, because how can you properly fit a dick under an evening gown? In honor of Pride Month, yes, stunning and brave that during Pride Month they selected a man to win a women's beauty pageant. Stunning and brave. Kataluna Enriquez made history last weekend when she was crowned Miss Nevada USA. The win will make her the first openly transgender contestant. I don't think we have to worry about any other secretly transgender contestants, because nobody was out there doing construction or math problems for their talent portion before. Yes, the first openly transgender contestant to be competing in the Miss USA pageant this fall. My win is our win. What, you and the other 6 transgender beauty pageant contestants? Like how small is this fucking pool? This story doesn't go into it, and I just mostly wanted to make childish jokes because that's what we do around here. But to be fair, yeah, like I said, it pointed out a couple of things, and obviously she's given it a fucking college try there to make the transition. I can pointed out that yes, there is a stark difference between Kataluna right here and presumably a biological female right there. And in all honesty, this probably isn't the biggest or the most egregious trickery that has ever been pulled and successfully pulled off in Las Vegas when it comes to thinking that you're getting a girl for the evening, but then it comes out and then it flops out on the table. But yes, like we referenced earlier, Tokyo Olympics are going to be held without spectators. I know what I think about this. Mostly nobody's really following the science, and that just breaks my heart, to be completely honest. But yeah, the Summer Olympics, I love them. I professed my love for them and everything that's going on with them. Yeah, Japan is a very, very conservative society in a lot of aspects, and panty vending machines aside. They wouldn't be putting up with a hell of a lot of this woke shit that's out there. All you have to do is just take a look at their media, and they are based as fuck, my dudes. So they've been cheering for Laurel Hubbard pressing 350 pounds over her head. Meanwhile, the clean and jerk for the women out there is just a battle for silver place and bronze. Like, come on. We all know who's going to be winning that heavyweight category for the females this August. Well, I guess it's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. Nobody's going to be there, so if a medal is won in an empty stadium, does anybody really care? We'll find out. In 2021, the Tokyo Olympics will go on, but now without spectators. Japan Olympics Minister Tamiyamo Marakawa said Thursday. Japan's coronavirus numbers have been reportedly increasing in recent weeks. We could check, but I don't care at this point. With the nation's officials citing a variant of the pandemic. Oh my god, they're caring about the variants. Sure. State of emergency in Tokyo. Did the Godzilla sirens sound? I'm unaware of this. Will run throughout the Olympics in an effort to combat the virus. So invite people from all over the world to come to your place. It's still very serious, allegedly, and delaying something we know a hell of a lot more about any longer would be fucking stupid. And you can't really have summer and winter Olympics in the same year, but you can't have them in the same calendar year. Because what is it, Beijing 2022? That should kick up in February, I think. But like it continues on here. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshide Suga told reporters the state of emergency would run from July 12th until at least August 22nd. The Olympics are scheduled to begin on the 23rd of July. Organizers have no choice but to hold the games in a limited way, Japanese Olympic Committee members Saiko Hashimoto said. Number of severe cases and bed occupancy rates continue to be on the low level. There we go, so there's no cause for concern. But they could go up at any time, yes, and we could all just fucking die from an invasion by King Ghidorah. That's fun. But this entire segment here is going to be about a whole bunch of insane shit that's going on. This just kind of been backing up, and I've been taking notes of the different crazy stories that have been going on, so this is just going to be a big old dump of stuff. So follow with me. This is one of the more hilarious stories that I've seen. I couldn't make 100% heads or tails of this story because I really did think that it was one of those Babylon Bee headlines. But no, I picked the craziest headline, and turns out that people, you know, who's their target demographic? Yes, low information people out there, trying to make this situation seem even worse than it already does. And something that we talk about with, unfortunately, regular consistency, it has to do with the horror and the tragedy of all those millions of dead people that happened at the Capitol insurrection on January 6th. If we could just have a moment of silence, because this dude got his blue power suit dirty. But at least it's going to be resting in a very prodigious place. Yes, he's donated it to the Smithsonian, and they unironically took it and are going to put it on display because he had to clean up water bottles. Okay, and as you can see, the devastation that went on there, that was just too much for him. This is a real story, guys. Representative Andy Kim, yes, he's an elected official, but the state of New Jersey has never exactly had the highest standard of elected officials. Yeah, he donates iconic blue suit. What? Iconic? Huh? Okay. From viral post-Capitol riot photos to the Smithsonian. Okay, listen. I have followed all the goings-on with the Capitol riot, the fallout, and the 6 people who died that day, and then it turns out later didn't die on that day, except for Ashley Babbitt, who we will never figure out her killer because it doesn't matter. Police shootings are horrible and terrible unless somebody getting shot is wearing a MAGA hat. But I, for the life of me, have never seen this dude before, okay? And I've never seen his iconic blue suit before in my life. So I don't know what people are on about here. The iconic blue suit that made Representative Andy Kim go viral following the January 6th attacks on the Capitol building has a new home in the Smithsonian. Yes, right next to Indiana Jones's members-only jacket and the Fonz's leather jacket. Yes, you have the suit jacket of Representative Andy Kim. Kids, decades from now, will be pointing and looking at that blue power suit jacket and wondering, why is that here? Why are we immortalizing some overpaid garbage man? Nah, this motherfucker's jacket is going to be mothballed in a couple of weeks. The New Jersey Democrat, shocked. 38? That's a tough 38. Took to Twitter on Tuesday the 6-month anniversary of the attempted insurrection. Yes, at least they aren't saying armed anymore. to announce that he had donated the piece he wore while helping clean up after the riot. Yes, him and other fellow rioters or insurrectionists were also cleaning up at the time. I never expected the Smithsonian or frankly anyone to find meaning in the suit I wore on January 6th, and that's where we part company, pal. But the response, thousands of letters and emails, show how much people were looking for something positive after that day. Yes, you were just hoping there was something you could hang your hat on that day, and all you could really do is put on a mask for a staged photo op and clean up a couple of water bottles, because you take a look around at everything else. I don't even see a speck of dust on the fucking marble floors, okay? And you just go down and you take a look further. Velvet rope didn't get knocked over. Everything seems awkwardly pushed right to the corner for him to iconically pick up. No graffiti to scrub off the walls. Really nothing to speak of, but he's a hero, and he doesn't want you to forget that. And the Smithsonian will take care of you. It'll hang up. I think I already know. I've got an inside source for the Smithsonian. It's going to be hanging up right next to that poster that they had up there that was all about the characteristics that you can attribute to whiteness. It'll be right there in the little exhibition of the horrors of the 21st century. Speaking of which, if you black in California, guess what? The work that your ancestors did, not in that state because California never had slavery, but they're going to get paid. They're going to get paid because Gavin Newsom really needs some fucking votes. No, we don't know for sure if they're going to be getting reparations yet, and this is a thing we have to talk about in 2021 because the world is fucking stupid. California Task Force launches study for slave reparations. What's there to study? Okay, can we take a look at the logs of all of the slaves that were there? Nope, because nobody kept logs of their slaves. No, because California was not a state at the time of the Civil War. Cool. A first in the nation task force. Oh good, California once again just making history there. To study and recommend reparations for African Americans held its inaugural meeting Tuesday. I'm sure it wrapped up in a couple hours, but it was well catered. Launching a 2-year process to address the harms of slavery and systemic racism despite the federal government's inaction. Yeah, because there's nothing to do. Remember, if you don't like it, you can leave. You can leave. The 9 members of the task force appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom and legislative leaders included the descendants of slaves who are now prominent lawyers, academics, and politicians. As you can see, people that are very oppressed by the system, obviously victims of systemic racism, that they couldn't ascend to the hallowed halls of academia and acquire their own degrees in order to fight back against such a cruel and unjust system. See how retarded this is? And this is ABC unironically reporting this. The group's newly elected chair is a young lawyer who specializes in intellectual property. Oh, so he should know that those slaves shouldn't have caused such a ruckus. They had a fucking job to do. They were owned by those kind plantation owners that gave them a place to sleep and a roof over their head. And their vice chair is a longtime civil rights activist, arrested with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the lunch counter sit-in in 1961 with Bernie Sanders. I'm so thankful to my ancestors who survived so much trauma, so much pain, so much tragedy, so much brutality, so I could live, said, oh, Lisa, oh, damn it. Lisa Holder. Wait a minute. Is she related to Eric Holder? I can see where this grift is going. A civil rights attorney in Los Angeles, and I am ready to fight to deliver them our ancestors' justice buff gives me the free stuff that my parents and grandparents and great-great-grandpappies were entitled to. Fuck off with the grift. But people who are actually maybe justifiable in getting reparations, because as you can remember, yeah, there was a group of people that were actually put in internment camps within at least my grandparents' lifetime in the 40s. Put in there by a Democratic president, the great FDR, who definitely didn't plunge the Western world into a much longer depression, but hey, you know what, he's a great hero, and he definitely wasn't reigning over the country like a fucking tyrant for 16 years. No, nothing to see there. I guess what, 15 or 14, depends on how long you want to attribute his wheelchair-bound state to. California is poised to approve reparations of up to $25,000 to some of the thousands of people, some as young as 13, who were sterilized decades ago because of government deemed them unfit to have children. Yes, another one of these gigantic overreaches, and another one of these things that can easily link back up to what is going on today. Because we'll let this story play out. I just gave you a little history lesson of Japanese internment camps that were under FDR, but this one's a little bit different. This involves the Supreme Court deeming people mentally retarded. Not like I like to call people retarded, people who like to dole out the Velcro shoe wearing takes out there, but no, people that would be detrimental if they were to reproduce to society, just sterilizing them because it's for the greater good. Back when eugenics was one of the most popular talking points at Harvard, where still the same group of people, all of your intellectuals in the world, would get together and try to create a better utopia, and this was all government sanctioned. Sound like something that's happening right now? Exactly. Payments will make California at least the third state following Virginia and North Carolina to compensate victims of so-called eugenics movement that peaked in the 30s. And 100 years later, here we are. Supporters of the movements believed sterilizing people with mental illness, physical disabilities, and other traits they deemed undesirable would improve the human race. Yep, just get the jab, bigot. While California sterilized more than 20,000 people before the law was repealed in 1979, fuck's sakes, only a few hundred are still alive. The state has set aside $7.5 million for reparations programs, part of the $262.6 billion operating budget that is awaiting Governor Gavin Newsom's signature. Yeah, it was really horrific. California's forced sterilization program started in 1909 following similar laws in Indiana and Washington. It was by far the largest program, accounting for 1/3 of everyone sterilized in the United States under those laws. California's law was to prohibit that. Oh, it was so prominent that it inspired similar practices in Nazi Germany. California, always on the cutting edge. According to Paul Lombardo, a law professor at Georgia State University and an expert in the eugenics movement, the promise of eugenics is at the very earliest is we could do away with all the state institutions, prisons, hospitals, asylums, orphanages, Lombardo said. People who were in there just wouldn't be born after a while if you sterilized all their parents. These are the same people that are still thinking that mental illness is a virtue and something that should be celebrated. It should be discussed at some point, maybe sometime in the future. Never wanting to get to the root cause of anything, but at least these guys were go-getters. Just showing you how stupid it is to just worthlessly follow, not even just the science, just follow the idiots in the fucking white lab coats. Okay? These were people who could have benefited from hospitals, people who could have benefited from medicine, but no, instead just fucking scoop out their innards with an ice cream scoop, or lop off their dick and balls and give them to a beauty pageant contestant some fucking 100 years into the future. Of the people California sterilized until its old eugenics law, just a few hundred are still alive, according to the research conducted by Sterilization and Social Justice Lab. And now they'd love to do the same with MAGA supporters, including the inmates who were sterilized most recently. Advocates estimate more than 600 people would be eligible for reparations, but finding them will be difficult. I just look for the people pushing an empty stroller. With advocates predicting only about 25% of eligible people will ultimately apply for reparations and be paid. Obviously, it's horrific, and just another example of what happens when you follow the scientists and let government fucking control your life, thinking that they can build a better society. Guess what? When people are allowed to make their own decisions, things tend to work out a little bit better. Unless, of course, those people want to start putting worthless shit inside of a timeless museum. But then they're part of the government too, so I guess that kind of cancels out that criticism. Anyways, we got more signs that maybe society is about done with all this crazy COVID shit. So if you'd like to hear a little bit more about that, we'll be coming up with that right shortly. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Catch y'all later.